Hi Math 8, this is Mrs. Cowles, and today we're going to take a look at notes number 3, slope from a table. We've talked that slope is the ratio that measures the steepness of a line. It can be the vertical change over the horizontal change. We can think of it as the change in y over change in x. We can use the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 to calculate the change in y over change in x. We can also think of it as rise over run. Slope can also be thought of as a constant rate of change. The points in the table lie on a line. Draw the graph and find the slope of the line using the graph. So go ahead and plot your points. Our first point is at 1 and negative 1. Second point is at 3 and 2. And the third point is at 5 and 5. Now go ahead and find the slope of the line using rise over run. So start with the point that's on the left and move to a point to the right of it. We could go from first to second by going up 3 to the right 2. We can go from the second to the third by going up 3 and to the right 2. We can see that the slope, if we do rise over run, is 3 over 2. Would we have gotten the same slope if we had connected the first to the third point? So I'm going to try that, where we go up, and this time we're going up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you're going to be going to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. So had we did the first and the third, we come out with a rise over run, 6 over 4, which ultimately reduces down to 3 over 2. So the slope of this line is 3 over 2. We can also now start to think of a slope as a constant rate of change. A rate of a change is a rate that describes how one quantity changes in relation to another. With slope, a rate is describing the vertical change in relation to the horizontal change. Is there an easier way to find slope of a line in that table above? Let's look at it again. Let's examine how the y values change in relation to how the x values change. As we examine our y values, and we go down the table from negative 1 to 2, we see that we go up by 3, so that's plus 3. From 2 to 5 is plus 3. From 5 to 8 is plus 3. Examine how the x coordinates are changing. From 1 to 3 it's plus 2. From 3 to 5 it's plus 2. From 5 to 7 it's plus 2. As we compare our change in y to our change in x, the ratios are the same. They're all 3 over 2, which was the same slope we got when we compared it using rise over run. So the rate of change for this table is 3 over 2. Let's continue to practice finding slope from a table by looking at the tables in example 1. So to find the slope, we must compare the change in y over the change in x. It's important that you examine all the y coordinates and all the x coordinates. So let's look at the y's. From 2 to 4, it's plus 2. We see that this pattern is continuing. Plus 2, plus 2, plus 2, but now all of a sudden we jump from plus to plus 4. Let's examine the change in the y's. From negative 3 to negative 1, that is a plus 2. And we continue. Plus 2, plus 2, plus 2, and from 5 to 9 we get a plus 4. So now we need to compare the ratios of the change in y to change in x to see if they are constant. So if we look at our first ratio, our first change in y is plus 2, our first change in x is plus 2. So change in y over change in x is plus 2. We see that this ratio is the same all the way down until we get to the last one. It's plus 4 to plus 4. If they are equal, then we have a linear situation. We have found the slope. 2 over 2 equals 4 over 4. That is true. We have a constant rate of change, and the slope, the constant rate of change, is 1. So let's analyze the next table, change in y over change in x. So negative 3 to negative 1 is plus 2, plus 2, plus 2, plus 2, then it goes to plus 6. So we need to compare our x coordinates, our change, and it's plus 2, plus 2, plus 2, another plus 2, and the last one is a plus 6. So we must compare ratios. Change in y to change in x we see is 2 over 2. All the way down and all the way to the bottom where we get 6 over 6, change in y over change in x. When we reduce these ratios, we see that they are equal 1 over 1, so we have a constant rate of change. It is constantly reducing down to a rate of 1. Let's take a look at one more table. Our change in y is minus 2, minus 2, minus 2, minus 8. Compare that to your change in x, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 4. So we must compare to see if it's constant all the way down. The first 1, 2, 3 changes in y's are negative 2. And we're going to compare that to our first 3 changes here. They're all plus 1s. Now when we compare, our last change in y was negative 8 over 4. If we reduce these, it's negative 2 equals negative 2. So our rate of change is constant. Our slope is negative 2. Okay, Math 8, I hope that's helpful in reviewing how to find slopes from a table. Have a good night.